Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. I am Meagan Pitluck-Schmitt. I am an at-large member of the UCR board. Whether you are on Zoom or here in the church sanctuary, we are so glad you are here with us this morning. No matter how old or how young you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, however you identify, and whomever you love, know that you are welcome here. I have several announcements this morning. Visitors and newcomers are invited to join Reverend Aileen for coffee during the coffee hour. Reverend Aileen will be in the boardroom behind me off the east foyer for conversations with newcomers who want to get better acquainted with the church and the minister. So bring your coffee and your questions. The children's choir will be meeting immediately after the service to practice in the library in the basement corner. So please head there if you are participating in the upcoming children's choir performance. Everyone is invited for our first Science Sunday today at 11:30 in the sanctuary here. The topic is Miracles in Physics and the Goldilocks Principle Applied to the Universe. This will be facilitated by Dr. Michael Albro. Science Sundays are designed to be educational without being overly technical. We hope you will join us for this program. And as a reminder, the auction is next Saturday, so we are less than 1 week out. We hope you will attend the auction. It begins at 6:30 p.m. An email will be sent out this afternoon, and please make sure to RSVP so that we can plan refreshments, etc. accordingly. The online catalog is open for donations and bids. I know I just snuck mine in 2 nights ago, so if you're also running a little late, still time. Stop by the East Foyer after worship to purchase your raffle tickets for the beautiful Caring Circle quilt. The auction team will be very happy to answer any questions you have. And finally, it's time to start making your shopping list for UCR's annual Alternative Gift Market, the AGM, which will take place on Saturday, December 2nd. The AGM is an opportunity to shop for meaningful donation gifts to local and international charities, as well as fair market craft items. For more information, visit the table in the foyer after the service. And now, let us center ourselves for worship. Please take some deep, quieting breaths with me. Let us enter our time of worship together as we enjoy this morning's prelude.
Good morning, I'm Reverend Aileen Fitzke, and our opening words this morning are by Reverend Rebecca Ann Parker. Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of your hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting. Any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up the wounds, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love. Any of these can draw closed the prison door, hoard bread, abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love. You must answer this question: what will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. There is an embrace of kindness that encompasses all life, even yours. And while there is injustice, anesthetization, or evil, there moves a holy disturbance, a benevolent rage, a revolutionary love, protesting, urging, insisting, that which is sacred will not be defiled. Those who bless the world live their life as a gesture of thanks for this beauty and this rage. The choice to bless the world can take you into solitude to search for the sources of power and grace, native wisdom, healing, and liberation. More, the choice will draw you into community, an endeavor shared, the inheritance passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of keeping faith. The life of ritual and praise, the comfort of human friendship, the company of earth, the chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can save the world. Together, that is another possibility waiting.
Good morning. Our opening hymn today is number 404, What Gift Can We Bring? You can use your hymnal, or the words are also on the back of your order of service. So please rise in body or spirit and join us.
Remember Our chalice lighting words today are adopted from a poem by Nicolene Fogner. Sharing is caring. What better human quality than generosity? They say, sharing is caring. Who could disagree? Sharing bread, sharing bed, sharing deep intimacy, sharing souls, sharing hearts, sharing vulnerability. Some might think sharing means losing parts of what is yours. But where true love persists, all that is mine is also yours. Sharing doesn't have happiness. You'll see it multiplies it. Possession is what grows greed and bad weeds that surround it.
Here at UUCR, we have a sacred tradition of singing our covenant together every Sunday morning. Love is the spirit of this church. We will remain seated while we sing our covenant together. And if you are visiting us today for the first time, we hope you will accept this song as our blessing to you.
The time for all ages. So find a place where you can see, and if you're feeling young of body and are here with us today, there's room on the floor. And welcome, welcome. Our story today is from wisdom tales around the world, including from Buddhists. And I found it in Curriculum Virtue Ethics by Jessica York. One day, a wise woman was going for a walk in the forest, and she thought she saw something sparkle in the path in front of her. She brushed away leaves and dirt and found this beautiful gem. He said, "But that is so pretty." And she put it in her pouch and continued to walk on. After a while, she decided she was feeling hungry, so she sat down and was going to have some lunch. But she heard footsteps behind her, and she turned around and saw a man dressed in rags, and he said, "Oh, kind dear lady, I am so hungry. Do you have some food that you might share with me?" The woman took some bread and cheese out of her bag, but had to take the gem out first because it was on top of it. And the man looked with wide eyes at the gem. The woman noticed this and said, "Oh, would you like this also?" "Oh, yes, dear lady, I would." And she gave him the gem and the bread and the cheese. He tucked it in his cloak and quickly ran off. The woman sat down and ate the few crumbs of cheese and bread that were left. But she soon heard footsteps behind her. She turned, and there was the man. And he said, "Oh, sweet lady, please take this back. I don't want it." She was amazed. With that gem, he could buy plenty of food, fine clothes, and perhaps a small room. And she said, "Well, what do you want?" And the man said, "I want what you have that allows you to give me the gem." I wonder what that might be called. What allowed the woman to give the man the gem? Anyone have a word for that? Yes. Ah, okay, yeah.
I think it is
Caring. That's a good word. Yes. Anyone else have another word? Yes. Empathy. He doesn't need it now? Ah, okay. There is a word we're going to be talking about in religious education and in the service today that is generosity. And I wonder if anyone would like to share, either in chat or here, about a time when someone has been generous and given you something. It might be something you could touch, like the gem, or something you can't touch, like time. Does anyone have an example of that they'd like to share? Yes. Oh, giving love? Yes. Anyone else? How about a time when you've given something that has meant a lot to you? Can you think of? You have another one? Ah, okay. Anyone? Well, we will be talking more in religious education, and I hope you'll talk with one another after the service. We'll now sing the children out with Go With Joy, and the lyrics will be projected here.
Now is the time in our service for the sharing of joys and concerns, so that no one ever has to hold them alone. If you are joining us remotely this morning, you may wish to light a real or virtual candle wherever you are to mark what is in your heart. And as members of the in-person congregation here at UUCR, place stones in the water here in the sanctuary. All right, so you'll note the different configuration. So I'm going to ask you this morning, I've put the stones in the water in the center, so if you could come up the center aisles of each side and then come back around, go back around to your seats on the outside. So we're going to try that this morning. If those of you at home would like to share what is in your heart today in the congregational chat on the screen, please write to all attendees. And please remember that everything you share is public. Those at home may then read their joys and concerns shared in the chat and then enter into a time of reflection and prayer as we all listen to Diane play our meditation music. meditation. Spirit of life and love that so faithfully animates our creation. We are grateful for this community that is with us in both times of joy and sorrow. We hold in our hearts this morning all who are facing any hardship or difficulty, those who are grieving or facing illness or disability in themselves, friends, or loved ones. In particular, this morning, we hold in our hearts and prayers the people of Israel and Palestine for peace. For them, we light this central candle. Now, let us take a moment of silence.
As a self-funded church, UCR relies on the generosity of its members and friends to fund daily operations and to ensure that the church and its resources are here for us and others now and in the future. Pledges support our worship and music programs, our religious education program, programs for members and friends, community outreach, and connections to Unitarian Universalism. We now invite you to support the work of UCR by making your donation in the collection plate if you are here in the sanctuary, or at the link on the slide and in the chat box if you are on Zoom. Thank you for your generosity and support of our beloved spiritual home.
Thank you, Diane. That was beautiful. From 1953 until her death in 1981, Peace Pilgrim walked across the United States, back and forth, logging 25,000 miles. She said, "When enough of us find inner peace, our institutions will become peaceful, and there will be no more occasion for war." She walked and lectured and gave herself to the vagaries of the world. She eschewed all material possessions and carried with her only a comb, a toothbrush, and 2 postage stamps. She opened herself to the generosity of others. And she was rewarded. People across the country started looking for her eventually familiar tunic that had Peace Pilgrim emblazoned across it. They offered her meals, a place to stay, and invited her to speak to them about peace. I wonder if any of you remember her. She was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, but she died before anything could come of it. There is this wonderful book called The Gift, written by Lewis Hyde. I turn to it time and again because in it, he looks at the ways in which people across time have developed gift economies. Pre-settler societies and indigenous people often had economies very different from the ones we have developed. In Gift Economies, wrote an early anthropologist of the Pacific Northwest indigenous culture, virtue rests in publicly disposing of wealth, not in its mere acquisition and accumulation. Accumulation in any quantity, by borrowing or otherwise, in fact, is unthinkable unless for the purpose of immediate redistribution. Gift economies were meant to be ways in which relationships could be developed. Gift economies were practiced in communities of people. The giving of gifts did not require immediate reciprocation. The gift required an obligation of the receiver to either consume the gift or to pass it along. For example, if someone were given an animal as a gift, it was their obligation to consume the gift with others or pass it on to someone else. They could not keep it as a breeding animal to increase its value. This did not mean that they could not keep animals for breeding, but a gift had a certain obligation and particular significance. A gift was about creating relationship. Not just the relationship between the original giver and receiver, but also relationships beyond in the larger community. If the receiver was not going to use the gift, it was their obligation to pass it on to someone else who would. It was a way to make sure everyone had what they needed at any given time, and that no one had more than they needed. Gift giving was circular and continuous. The original giver might at some point find themselves in the position, sometime in the future, of being a receiver, but not necessarily from the person they had given the original gift to. The term Indian giver came about when settlers didn't understand the concept of gift economies. If they simply displayed and kept the gifts given by the local indigenous givers, the givers would take them away because the gift is meant to be passed on. It's not meant to be displayed. In fact, the more one had in the community, like a high-status chief, the more the obligation was to give away your wealth. There was this celebration called a potlatch in which high-status people would recreate material gifts by craftspeople. They would, with the help of others, create these wonderful, beautiful material objects of material value and artistic beauty, only for the purpose of giving it all away. The more you had to give, the more status you had. The more you gave away, the higher your status in society. In our modern industrial societies, we have created this culture in which all we possess becomes what we base our identities on. We are bombarded on all sides by advertisements that tell us we are not enough, that we don't have enough. We create objects of planned obsolescence, so we continue to want the latest, greatest thing. Our culture is predicated on us wanting more and more and more, and always being convinced that we don't have enough. There is always one more bright, shiny object. And not only that, we may subscribe to the ethic that the person with the most toys when they die wins. And one might be tempted to ask, wins what? The political philosopher Michael Sandel writes in his book, What Money Can't Buy, we have gone from having a market economy to becoming a market society, a society in which everything is for sale. Everything is determined by its value in the marketplace, and things previously considered outside the market also become commodified. It allows us to put a price on everything. And it makes material value the bottom line in all our interactions within society. And so, people with the most become the people with the most value. Anne writes Alyssa Court in her book, Bootstrapped, the powerful tend to disseminate ideology to those who work for them and invest in them through everything from political ads and business cable shows to think tanks, while the rest of us are coerced to absorb their storytelling. And so we begin to believe that the people who have the most deserve the most. Several years ago, researchers came up with what was called the just world hypothesis. They noted that people desperately want to believe that the world is just and will perform all sorts of mental gymnastics in order to make that belief true. In one experiment, they asked a group of young women to watch as another young woman was given a series of apparently continually greater painful shocks when she answered a series of questions wrong. After the experiment was over, they asked the other young women to characterize the young woman receiving the shocks. Almost all of them, despite the fact that they did not know her, characterized her negatively. Why? Because they had to believe that she deserved the pain. Writes Court, if the observers can attribute the person's suffering to something that they did or did not do, the observer's belief in a just and predictable world will not be threatened. It is why unjust societies like Nazi Germany happened, blindness to the slowly creeping injustice. We do it also in the larger society. We convince ourselves that those who are poor deserve to be poor. Those who are unhoused have somehow done something to deserve that. That those who do not have enough to eat do not deserve our compassion. That there is nothing we can do, and more cynically, that there is nothing we should do. It is, I believe, the role of religious and spiritual traditions at their best to break us out of this cynicism, to teach us to open our eyes to injustice to make love and compassion central to our way of life. There is a passage in the Gospels in which a young man comes up to Jesus and asks him what he must do to enter the kingdom of God. And Jesus tells him, "Give up all your possessions and come follow me." And the passage in Matthew 19:22 says, "And the young man went away sad because he had many possessions." In the Buddhist tradition, there are the Four Noble Truths in which we learn that life is suffering, and the cause of suffering is holding on to, grasping at things that are impermanent. Because the reality is that everything is impermanent. Peace Pilgrim, though not a Buddhist, said, "Material things must be put into their proper place. They are there for our use. It's all right to use them. That's what they're there for. But when they've outlived their usefulness, be ready to relinquish them and perhaps pass them on to someone who does need them. Anything that you cannot relinquish when it has outlived its usefulness possesses you. And in this materialistic age, a great many of us are possessed by our possessions. We are not free. Our Time for All Ages story this morning tells about a woman who finds a jewel of great value, and when given the opportunity, just gives it away. And the man to whom she gives it realizes that the treasure he is seeking, the gift he needs most from the woman, is not the jewel, but to learn about her capacity for generosity. There are these surveys that come out periodically that tell us that Unitarian Universalists have the highest per capita income of any religious tradition, or that we are the most well-educated, or that our children have the highest SAT scores. And some of us pump out our chests and say, of course. But those things aren't virtues. It simply tells us that in our denomination, we have members that have extraordinary privilege. It also tells us, because after all, high SAT scores are most directly coordinated with parental wealth. It also tells us that UUs have the capacity and the means to be more generous. And I believe we are. I see congregational communities as examples of contemporary gift societies. Except for staff who are paid, the vast majority of people within religious communities give freely of their time and energy. When it comes time to serve community, they organize, they set up, they clean up, build, partner with other organizations, like in the alternative gift market. They partner with other organizations that are keeping track of the larger injustices in the world and helping us to contribute toward the work that they do. So we help create a world that we not only believe is just, but a world that truly is just. Peace Pilgrim knew deep down the meaning of generosity was both about giving and receiving, being open to both. Our ability to receive generously is just as important as giving generously. Peace Pilgrim wrote, "As you concentrate on giving, you discover that just as you cannot receive without giving, so neither can you give without receiving. Even the most wonderful things like health, happiness, and inner peace, there is a feeling of endless energy that never runs out. It seems as endless as air." May we give freely. May we receive freely. May we truly understand the meaning of gift. Amen, and blessed be.
Our closing hymn is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Well, please rise in body or spirit and join us.
Our benediction this morning is by Eric Williams. May you be filled. May you be filled with the blessings of this covenanted community. May you carry them with you as you depart from here. May you discover places in the world where these blessings are needed. May you have the courage to share them. May there be an open place within you to receive the blessings of the people whom you will meet along the way.
And now we extinguish this flame, but not the light of hope and truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We invite our congregants to join us for coffee or tea and fellowship after the service. Those attending worship on Zoom can join us for our virtual Greet Your Neighbor coffee hour to discuss the theme and enjoy fellowship with other congregants. The link is in the chat box and will be on a forthcoming slide. We hope you will use the chat box as a virtual receiving line to leave a message about your appreciation for the worship service. I hope we enjoy the generous weather we've received today, the wonderful sunshine, and maybe the extra hour of sleep. Please join us as we enjoy our post-lead.
Our postlude today is the song The Glory of Love by Billy Hill, and the words are on the back of your order of service, so this is a sing-along. I hope you will join in with me. This song was written in the 1930s, but was the theme song of the movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which was a movie in the 60s. I'm sure many of you know this beautiful song, so I did take a little bit of liberty with some of the lyrics in the middle, so if they look a little different, that's why, to make them fit our theme today. So here we go, The Glory of Love.